Yeah, so when you're trying to bet on like up or down in a stock market or crypto, Bitcoin, it's always literally 50-50. I think it's 51-49. But your edge is because of the money printer, pretty much. That's what it is, the money printer. Now, there is a growth factor, but I like thinking about the money printer more because even if you're not growing, the money printer is pushing everything up. Because if you're not taking any action, let's say you only took one action per year, you're just holding and you're taking every year's step, they've printed in that year 7%. They've printed 7%, and that's enough time of money supply, and that's enough time for it to disperse out and flow into the buckets of the things you hold. But if you're trading, let's say you're trying to swing trade every day, 48 hours, of course, the top 5% win, but the bottom 95%, they're playing PvP because the excess money printer money, it hasn't had enough time to basically land up in like whale wallets to come and buy stuff because they're buying irregularly because there's so little of them. We don't live in a world where like, there's 365 whales and then one whale buys per day. If you could get that, obviously everyone could win. It doesn't happen like that. You end up finding out like, no one buys for 60 days and then like 13 of them act, right? And then none of them act. And then a couple of them sell. And then another guy's like 30 buy, right? And then there's nothing again for the next 60 days on average, right? Or maybe the DCA buying. So it's so irregular in the dollar. And it's so erratic that's very hard to predict how it's going to turn out in the short term. But if you like, obviously, the longer time you wait, then the money printer money, it's seeping in through. But that's what it comes down to, belief. That's why it's just literally a matter of, do you believe it's happening in the background? We're going to see all the data and the stats of global liquidity index. It is happening in the background. It's just that everyone wants to know. Today. Is it happening today? I need it to happen right now. And even if it is happening, by the way, like, think about that. Like, if you just do, I'll just show you now. If you do 7% of the money supply divided by 52, that's 0.13% in the week. Like, that's negligible, right? Every week. Because any week, someone can just dump something down 10% in crypto. That's it. Who cares? So that 0.13% working, it's compounding every single week for you, but you can't see it. But think about that 1 week. If you're only going to pick a random week, okay, the money printer factor was only 0.13% for that week. For the net change, you're going to buy and try sell, or sell and try and buy and try bet on it. And yeah, someone can just overwhelm you. But then obviously what you're hoping over time is enough people to stay in the network and gobble up the supply slowly. That 7% in the year, it does eventually compound. That's why in crypto, it's one of the greatest equalizer games of all time with our growth rates, right? Or financial markets. Because you simply holding and doing nothing, you are betting on that money printer turning on, the Cantillon effect working, and whoever gets the money first, borrowing and capital, whether they're legit or not legit, doesn't really matter. They eventually get the money and they come take money supply. They take supply of whatever asset you're in slowly off the market, and that's all working. And also best part about it is it compounds. It compounds, man. That's the greatest thing about that. That's understated. I make so many videos about it. It's compound interest working for you, but it's reverse compound interest. So you holding in 10 years from now, right? Your portfolio could literally be 10 times bigger in 10 years from now. And so a 1% change over there matters a lot, big time, compared to a 1% change today. But think about if you were like bound by the laws of physics and you're trying to say play soccer or something, you're trying to beat the other guy, like the percentage that you can run, you're basically capped, okay? You're basically capped and you have a certain window of time of your life where you can actually outperform someone else. And even short-term trading as well, you don't get the power of that compound interest. It gets harder and harder and harder as you get bigger, and your edge basically diminishes. But that's why sitting in markets, man, sitting around and doing nothing, literally sitting around and doing nothing, it really does work in your favor. I always show this global liquidity index from now on, just to let everyone know, right? Global liquidity is going up and Tether is booming up. Now, Tether is small enough. We're only 100 billion. So it's not so big. So Tether can actually front run that global liquidity index. It actually does. We might get to a point one day where these stable coins, they're all so big, we just move with stonks. We might get to something like that, which means you're not going to find a lot of them front running heaps. You're not going to find this Tether market cap printing thing happen so aggressive as we do now. But for the most part, while we're here early, it's wonderful to see. So yeah, I hope that explains it right. So betting in the short term, it's more PvP. It's more PvP. But the longer time frame you get, you just increase your odds in that window of time, that duration, that a whale that's coming to do a permanent move one way. It's like it's repriced it up. It's kind of like, let's look at, like, for example, we had a bucket of 10 apples, for example. And if you're trying to like trade someone, you're trying to bet on the prices of apples for the day, you're not going to get very far in like 24 hours. But let's say there's somebody out there, they're buying an apple off you every month, but you just don't know which day. Okay, so if you're gambling every day, basically it's going to be very hard to predict the price of apples. But if you're just like, hey, I'm going to take a very long-term bet on apples that this thing is going to go up over time. Because what you're basically saying is, you go, I believe so much that someone out there, another farmer out there, is going to come in, he's going to buy, on average in the year, 1 apple per month. And by the end of it, there's going to be no supply left, right? That's literally crypto. We have scarce supply. So obviously with apples, right, they grow off trees. Literally crypto doesn't, but we're kind of minting too many. So that's another problem. But for the most part, we don't really grow on trees. The networks aren't growing on trees. You're betting on this network just continuing to grow, okay? And that's ultimately everything that's boosting us up from underneath. That's the bullish undertone. And yeah, look, it does suck. We drop for 85% of the time in crypto. That's a real stat, by the way. You go check it out. 4-year cycle, it's 85% of the time we're going down and 15% actually swooping up. The daily candles are red and green the same, but in terms of like this, momentary periods of the cycles, that's what it's like. And once you understand this now, you're like, oh, like holding longer is safer. It's safer because, like, you're thinking about your point, like it's 2024 now. You think, okay, in the next 6 years, man, do the maths on that. They've printed 7% per year of the money supply. Now that's the actual real number. They do debasing and tricks. But even if you're like conservative, you go, no. They don't print 7%. They only do 5%. Okay. Even 5% per year, man, 5% per year compounding against you is huge. If you do 1.05 to the power of 5, which I'm going to do right now, man, that is 27% debasing. That's terrible. But think about that, man. If you have, people don't think about this. Like, if you had $10,000 in cash savings in 2019, it's only worth now today, your 10,000 versus purchasing power, you've lost $2,300. You pretty much lost 2,500, actually $2,500. So the only way to get through this, though, is to hold the scarce assets. You know exactly what time it is now. Catch you soon.